Wood Release is a rare and powerful nature transformation that combines Earth and Water Release. It's best known as the signature ability of Hashirama Senju, the first Hokage, and is virtually unheard of in anyone else without the use of his cells, aside from the Ten Tails, whose true form is the God Tree. Because of its intense power and versatility, many have tried to replicate Wood Release since Hashirama's time, but with mixed and often disastrous results. At its core, Wood Release lets their users convert chakra into wood, creating anything from simple structures to massive towering trees. Hashirama famously used it to create the forest that became the foundation of the Hidden Leaf Village, cementing his role as the first Hokage. The vegetation can grow from the user's body or sprout from the environment, allowing for incredible flexibility. Constructs made from Wood Release can range from cages and houses to ornate detailed creations. One of its most notable techniques is Wood Clone Jutsu, which creates a fully functional duplicate of the user, capable of performing jutsu and indistinguishable from the original. Wood Release can also suppress and absorb chakra, which made Hashirama one of the few shinobi able to control tailed beasts. Using this power, he subdued multiple tailed beasts and distributed them to other villages to maintain peace. Hashirama's Wood Release was unmatched, with even Senjutsu enhancing his abilities. His most iconic feat was creating a massive, multi-armed wooden statue that could subdue even the Nine Tails, and its power played a key role in shaping the Valley of the End. Because of its usefulness, many have tried to replicate Wood Release after Hashirama's death. Konoha sponsored experiments, but they ended in failure and were eventually banned. The main problem was Hashirama's unique cells, which were so potent they often overwhelmed or even killed those infused with them. One of the most infamous attempts was by Orochimaru, who injected 60 test subjects with Hashirama cells. Only Yamato survived and became a genetic copy of Hashirama. While Yamato could use Wood Release, his version is far weaker and requires assistance of Hashirama's necklace to suppress Jinchuriki effectively. Orochimaru also gave Danzo Shimura a graft of Hashirama's cells on his right arm, but Danzo's Wood Release was crude and he avoided using it directly. Later, Kabuto advanced Orochimaru's research, enabling him to graft Hashirama's cells onto Madara Uchiha's reincarnated body. This restored Madara's ability to use Wood Release on a scale comparable to Hashirama's. Madara, while alive, also harvested Hashirama's cells to heal himself after their legendary battle. Decades later, he combined these cells with the demonic statue of the Outer Path to create a mindless clone of Hashirama, which became the basis for the White Zetsu army and provided limited Wood Release for Obito Uchiha. Orochimaru eventually gained Wood Release by taking over a White Zetsu body. Moegi Kazamatsuri also developed Wood Release in adulthood, though how she obtained it remains unclear. Shikotsumyaku is a Kekkei Genkai that lets the user manipulate their own bones at will. This unique ability, tied to the Kaguya clan, was most famously wielded by Kimimaro, the last of his clan. Shikotsumyaku works by giving users control over their bone-producing cells and bone-breaking cells, or osteoblasts and osteoclasts, as well as their bone's calcium density. This allows them to grow, shape, and strengthen their bones without limit, at least until their body tires out. They can create new bones anywhere in their body, modify them into weapons such as sharp blades, or even produce entirely unique structures like drills. Bones can also be toughened to resist crushing or cutting, or hollowed out for special uses, like crafting a flute. In combat, bones often pierce through the user's skin to be wielded or used as defensive spikes. They can even be shot out of the body, as seen with the 10-finger drilling bullets. Remarkably, any damage caused by the protruding bones heals quickly, and removed bones are replaced if needed, though until regrown, the affected body part may be temporarily deformed. In battle, Shikotsumyaku is a game changer. The user's ability to endlessly produce bones gives them unmatched versatility, allowing them to adapt to nearly any situation. Their enhanced bones makes them highly resistant to damage, as they can liken their bodies to a fortress. This made the Kaguya clan fearsome warriors, but their arrogance led them to challenge Kitagakure, a superior power, resulting in their annihilation. Orochimaru wanted Shikotsumyaku for himself, planning to take over Kimimaro's body. Unfortunately, Kimimaro's terminal illness made this impossible. Despite Kabuto's attempt to heal him, Kimimaro's physiology was so unique that he couldn't be saved. After Kimimaro's death, Kabuto managed to replicate Shikotsumyaku in himself, which Orochimaru later absorbed. Scorch Release is a rare and deadly Kekkei Genkai that seemingly mixes fire and wind chakra to create intense heat. It only made a brief appearance in the Naruto series, mostly during the Fourth Great Ninja War. While the anime added a filler episode centered around its user, the Kekkei Genkai itself still received less than 20 minutes of screen time. Pakura of Tsunagakude is the only known person to have this Kekkei Genkai. She combines fire and wind chakra to create heat orbs that look like tiny suns. These orbs are insanely powerful, capable of mummifying enemies by evaporating all the moisture in their bodies. Pakura demonstrates this devastating ability with her technique, Scorch Release Extremely Steaming Murder. Her heat orbs rotate around her body and can be controlled freely, making her an agile and dangerous fighter. In the anime, Pakura steps it up by combining all her orbs into a massive heat ball, strong enough to incinerate an entire section of forest. In the war, its power turned fertile land into scorching wastelands, leaving devastation in its wake. The sheer destruction Scorch Release causes has given it a dark reputation. Even in the Land of Wind, where the Kekkei Genkai originates, old legends blame Scorch Release users for expanding the desert and unleashing the wrath of the sun. Pakura herself became infamous among her enemies because of how lethal her abilities were. Interestingly, when Sasuke and Naruto combine their fire and wind style techniques, the result is dubbed Scorch Release, suggesting its component chakra natures. Magnet Release. Unlike most Kekkei Genkai, Magnet Release isn't tied to a specific clan or directly inherited. Instead, it seems to result from combining earth and wind chakra natures. But having those two elements alone isn't enough. Users need a genetic affinity to unlock this unique power. Magnet Release allows its user to generate magnetic forces, which can be applied to other substances in creative and devastating ways, one of which is iron sand, used by the third Kazekage of Tsunagakude. Inspired by Shukaku's sand manipulation, the third molded iron sand into deadly weapons, or used it to crush his enemies. Other characters like Kajura in Gaara Hiden and Shinki from Boruto have also mastered iron sand techniques. Another substance is gold dust, wielded by the fourth Kazekage Rasa. He developed it specifically to counter Shukaku's sand, as gold dust is heavier and could overpower the Jinchuriki's control. Interestingly, when Rasa used this power, black rings appeared around his eyes, resembling Gaara's signature markings. Toroi from Kumagakure had a unique approach to magnet release, using it to magnetize special shuriken. When these shuriken hit an object, they magnetized it as well, making it easier to target by drawing in other magnetized weapons. However, the magnetic effect weakened each time it was transferred. Shukaku, the one-tailed beast, also used magnet release through the cursed seal markings on its body. Naruto managed to harness this ability in his Sage Art, Magnet Release Rasengan, which not only delivers a powerful strike, but also binds the target on impact. Gaara, Rasa's son, inherited magnet release as well. He manipulates dense metallic sand, which he can use alongside his regular sand, or mix them to enhance his strength. Whether Gaara's magnet release comes from his time as Shukaku's Jinchuriki, or is inherited from his father, remains unclear. Magnet release has roots in the abilities of tailed beasts. The third Kazekage modeled his iron sand after Shukaku's magnet release powers. Rasa learned the ability from the third, though he developed his unique gold dust variant. And really quick, if you enjoy straight to the point, no nonsense content like this, then consider subscribing and liking this video. And also, if you're a cool guy, consider clicking the link in the description to purchase some of our awesome new merch. It helps keep sponsors away from the channel, so we can keep giving you the content you love without interruptions. But anyway, Explosion Release is a powerful Kekkei Genkai that combines Earth and Lightning Chakra to create destructive explosive force. By destabilizing the structure of whatever it touches, it causes violent explosions, with the size and power of the blast depending on how much chakra is used. This technique is usually used to detonate the air around the user's body, to deliver devastating attacks while keeping the wielder unharmed. Explosion Release users are especially feared in close-range combat, since they can unleash explosions with every punch and kick, easily tearing apart their opponents. One notable user is Gari, who combines Explosion Release with Taijutsu. His punches don't just hit, they make whatever they strike explode from the inside. He also uses explosions to propel himself at high speeds or even launch himself through the air, adding a dangerous level of agility to his already destructive power. In the anime, Gari can create shockwaves by detonating the ground, sending debris flying to disorient his enemies. He's also been shown to use a less lethal version of the technique, creating harmless puffs of smoke instead of full-blown explosions. Deidara, another famous explosion release user, takes a different approach. He infuses clay with explosive chakra, creating bombs of all shapes and sizes. This gives him incredible versatility compared to other users, as his explosive clay allows him to attack from long range and adapt to various combat scenarios. His creativity and artistic flair limited his willingness to use explosion release in ways beyond his artistic vision. This weakness left him vulnerable in close-range combat, where other explosion release users excelled. Lava Release is a powerful Kekkei Genkai that combines fire and earth chakra natures, particularly Son Goku, the Four Tails, who could channel magma-like chakra. Jinchuriki like Roshi of Iwagakure inherited this ability, and over time, some shinobi clans developed their own unique versions of Lava Release, passing it down through their bloodlines. Unlike most Kekkei Genkai, Lava Release takes on different forms depending on the user. Mei Terumi, for example, uses Lava Release as a super corrosive acidic mud that melts through enemies and creates defensive barriers. In contrast, Kumogakure's Dodai developed a rubber-like version that's resistant to lightning jutsu. Shinobi from Iwagakure preferred forms like Quicklime or Ash, both of which were highly destructive. Etoro Konjiki of Ishigakure even created melting flames with Lava Release, while Son Goku and Naruto used Molten Rock in their Tailed Beast abilities. Lava Release is incredibly flexible on the battlefield. It can devastate targets and reshape the terrain, like Mei's acidic mud melting through anything in its path, or Roshi covering the ground in molten lava with his flower fruit mountain technique. Long-range users like Onoki employed ash storms to bombard enemies from afar. But it's not just for fighting. Lava Release has practical uses too. Shinobi used it to harden magma into durable structures, or create advanced metals through earth and fire experimentation, making it valuable even outside of combat. That said, Lava Release isn't without its weaknesses. It struggles against lightning and water release users, as their abilities can neutralize or counter lava's effects. Dodai's rubber variant helped offset these vulnerabilities, but other users weren't so lucky. Mobility-focused enemies, or those with earth-related jutsu, could also disrupt the terrain that Lava Release depends on, putting its users at a disadvantage. Adapting to Lava Release isn't always easy either. Since the techniques vary so much, shinobi often face a steep learning curve when trying to incorporate it into their fighting style, especially if it wasn't a natural fit for their village's tactics. Even experienced users had to experiment to make it work optimally. Boil Release is a Kekkei Genkai that combines fire and water chakra to create superheated vapor. It can be used in two main ways, either internalized within the body to boost physical power, or released externally as deadly corrosive mist. When internalized, Boil Release acts like a pressure cooker for chakra. The boiling vapor creates extreme energy, which amps up the user's strength and speed far beyond normal chakra enhancement. The more chakra boiled, the stronger the user gets. But there's a trade-off. If they boil a ton of chakra at once, they might be able to smash through buildings in a single punch, but it's a short-lived burst of power. On the flip side, boiling smaller amounts steadily grants a moderate boost, like shattering boulders, and lasts longer. The original Boil Release user was Kokuo, the Five Tails. This tailed beast used its boiling chakra to move at insane speeds, leaving trails of steam behind it as it raced across the land. Its Jinchuriki inherited this ability, becoming a physical powerhouse. Han, the last known Jinchuriki of Kokuo, took it a step further. He created a suit of armor with a furnace-like attachment on its back that stored steam from Boil Release, letting him unleash its full power when needed. The other style of this release came from the Terumi clan, in the Land of Water. Instead of keeping the boiling chakra inside, they weaponized it as acidic mist. By tweaking its natural properties, they made the vapor corrosive enough to melt rock, metal, and of course human flesh. Terumi users could fill the battlefield with this acidic mist, making it nearly impossible for enemies to approach without being burned. They could also shoot pressurized jets of acid to tear through obstacles or scald enemies at close range. Mei Terumi, the most famous Boil Release user, combined this acidic style with her Lava Release, making her a dual-threat fighter. Storm Release is one of the few Kekkei Genkai that isn't tied to a specific clan or bloodline, making it an ability that can theoretically be acquired. This unique power combines Lightning Release and Water Release, turning lightning into laser-like beams of light. What's cool about Storm Release is that it varies depending on the user's chakra and fighting style. Darui is the first Storm Release user we see in the series, and his version is all about precision and versatility. Instead of firing straight beams, Darui can control the direction of his lightning with pinpoint accuracy. In his fight against the Gold and Silver brothers, he managed to take them out while avoiding harm to hostages, a testament to how dangerous and precise his technique is. Madara's version is on another level entirely. His Storm Release creates laser beams so sharp, they can slice through truth-seeking orbs, which are supposed to nullify all ninjutsu. On top of that, this beam seems to travel at the speed of light, making them impossible to dodge. Essentially, Madara's technique is a deadly pinpoint death ray, swift, sharp, and devastating. Then there's Hiruko, a villain from Naruto Shippuden the movie The Will of Fire. His Storm Release is more weather-focused, letting him create storm clouds that absorb chakra from the environment. The more chakra these clouds absorb, the stronger and more dangerous they become. Hiruko can even siphon the chakra back into himself, in theory letting him power up endlessly. Jugo clan's Kekkei Genkai. Jugo's clan has a wild and unique Kekkei Genkai that lets them absorb natural energy and use it without needing any senjutsu training. But of course this comes with drawbacks. This constant flow of natural energy comes with a serious downside. They're prone to sudden, uncontrollable killing urges. Basically, their bodies soak up so much natural energy that it messes with their minds. Their ability doesn't stop there though. They can secrete special fluids that, when mixed with senjutsu chakra, allow them to transform their bodies. These transformations can vary. Different users, different forms, and even different effects can occur every time. When they shift, their skin and hair change color, and sometimes even their eyes. And while other senjutsu users have to worry about turning to stone if they mess up the balance of natural energy, Jugo's clan doesn't seem to have that problem. They've got a natural knack for keeping it in check, even letting them transfer senjutsu chakra to others. Jugo's story is a bit tragic. After one of his killing rampages wiped out an entire village, he chose to live in an isolated cave. That's where Kimimaro found him and introduced him to Orochimaru, promising help for his condition. Jugo then willingly became one of Orochimaru's test subjects. But instead of focusing on curing Jugo's urges, Orochimaru zeroed in on the source of his transformations. Using Jugo's body fluids, Orochimaru developed the Curse Seal, a powerful enzyme that mimicked Jugo's transformations and others. However, only about 10% of people could survive the seal's application, while the rest died. Even those who survived had limitations, as their transformations were fixed to specific forms. After Orochimaru's quote death, Kabuto injected himself with DNA from multiple experiments, including Jugo's. This gave him the ability to absorb natural energy passively, which came in handy when he trained in senjutsu under the White Snake Sage of Ryuchi Cave. In the anime, there's also a guy named Tosaka who did his own experiments on Jugo's abilities. He created a collar device that mimicked the Sage transformation using scientific ninja tools. Tosaka hyped it up as the ultimate Curse Seal weapon, but when push came to shove, his artificial powers couldn't match Jugo's raw natural strength. Typhoon Release is a non-manga Kekkei Genkai tied to at least the wind nature transformation, and it's basically a supercharged version of Wind Release. Think massive vortexes and chaotic storms that can obliterate everything in its path. The only known user of this rare ability is Naoki, who takes his ability to a whole new level. Naoki can summon devastating winds to disorient his enemies or even obscure their vision, but when he's not holding back, his Typhoon Release techniques are ridiculously powerful. He's shown the ability to create vortexes so massive and intense that they can even overwhelm Sasuke's full-body Susanoo, forcing it into a defensive stance. He can whip up typhoons big enough to engulf entire islands. Compared to an average Wind Release user casually stirring up a breeze, Naoki's Typhoon Release makes him look like a one-man natural disaster. His wind gusts are strong enough to move massive objects, blow apart roaring infernos, and wreak havoc on the battlefield. Weapons infused with Typhoon Release chakra are said to be some of the sharpest ever created, able to cut through even the toughest defenses. And because compressed Typhoon Release chakra surpasses standard Wind Release in sheer force, users of this Kekkei Genkai can easily counter Fire Release techniques, including its more advanced Kekkei Genkai forms. While Typhoon Release didn't appear in the manga, it played a part in the anime, and the novel Sasuke Shinden Book of Sunrise, adding some flair to the lore. Ice Release is a Kekkei Genkai that mixes water and wind chakra, letting users create ice-based techniques. The Yuki clan from the Land of Water were famous for their Ice Release, and their power was so feared that they were forced to go into hiding to avoid persecution. Haku, a descendant of the Yuki clan, is one of the most well-known Ice Release users. He can create ice mirrors that he can instantly travel between, making him nearly impossible to pin down. His ice is so strong that it barely melts even in intense heat. In Kakashi Hiden, two ice users, Kaio and Ryo, are part of a family that was wiped out by Kirigakude years ago. With nowhere to turn, they defected and settled in the Land of Waves. Kaio has a unique way of using Ice Release. She can plant ice particles on her enemies, and if they don't use chakra to stay warm, they'll eventually freeze to death. However, her powers are limited, because she needs moisture in the air to create ice, so she's not as effective in dry places. Ryo uses Ice Release to coat his hands with ice, which makes his taijutsu attacks way stronger and gives him better defense when blocking punches or kicks. In Boruto the anime, Ryogi from the Land of Snow also uses Ice Release. He can shoot shards of ice at his enemies, and his ice abilities also let him lower the temperature around him, causing snow to fall in his area. He can even lower his own body temperature so much that he can sneak past thermal sensors undetected. Crystal Release is a rare nature transformation that's only been seen in the anime. Its only known user is Guren, a kunoichi from Otogakure. With Crystal Release, she can crystallize pretty much anything, even moisture in the air, which basically gives her an endless supply of material to work with. These weapons are so dense that even Wood Release can't break through them. She can craft all sorts of structures, from giant crushing walls to crystal prisons. Guren's creativity doesn't stop there though. She can even ride her crystals like a hoverboard and fly. She also has this interesting ability to plant flower-like crystals in different locations and spy on those areas using a crystal ball. But the scariest part of Crystal Release is that it works on a molecular level. This means that if she crystallizes her opponent, they'll shatter into dust if the crystal breaks. The exact chakra natures that make up this release are a bit of a mystery. When Kiba first saw it, he thought it was Earth Release, and since Crystal Release can be beaten by Lightning Release, it's possible that Earth is one of its components. While this ability can turn almost anything into crystals, they can't crystallize raw energy or chakra, since they don't have physical mass, which is why Fire Release and Lightning Release users have an edge. Sound waves can also mess up crystal formation. Sakon and Ukon's Kekkei Genkai. Sakon and Ukon have an unnamed Kekkei Genkai that lets them break their bodies down on a molecular level. Most of the time, they use this ability to share the same body, but they can also merge with someone else's body and wreck their cells from the inside. When Sakon's in trouble, Ukon can pop out of parts of his body, like arms or legs, to help block attacks or hit harder. If needed, they can fully separate and fight as two individuals. That said, Ukon isn't used to being on his own, so he's much weaker when they split. Their ability does come with some risks. If they merge with someone else, they're vulnerable to any damage the host takes. On the flip side, if either of them gets injured, they can merge back together to heal faster, though it drains a lot of chakra. If Sakon has to take a backseat to recover, Ukon struggles since he's not used to being in charge. Kabuto later integrated their DNA into himself, giving him access to this bizarre Kekkei Genkai. Dark Release is a movie-only Kekkei Genkai that lets its user absorb, manipulate, and fire back chakra stolen from their enemies. Basically, it's the perfect power for someone who wants to turn their opponent's energy against them. Hiruko is the only known user of Dark Release, and he obtained it through a mark on his left hand. The mark looks like two overlapping diamonds. Here's how it works. The top diamond absorbs the enemy's chakra, while the bottom one releases it in whatever form Hiruko wants. The exact chakra natures that make up Dark Release are still a mystery, but it's clear that Hiruko didn't inherit it naturally. He got it through his Chimera technique, a forbidden jutsu that lets him steal Kekkei Genkai from other shinobi. Dark Release made its debut in Naruto Shippuden the movie The Will of Fire, where Hiruko used it to enhance his already overpowered abilities. The Iburi clan's Kekkei Genkai, which is exclusive to the anime, lets its members transform their bodies into smoke, partially or fully, and use it in all kinds of creative ways. While in smoke form, they're basically invincible since weapons and attacks just pass right through them. But they're not completely untouchable. They can still interact with physical objects if they want to. One of the more interesting tricks they can pull off is possessing other people. By entering someone's body in smoke form, they can control their movements and even experience everything the person does, like even tasting their food. On the offensive side, they can infiltrate someone's body and oxidize them from the inside, which is as terrifying as it sounds. The Kekkei Genkai seems to be more powerful in younger clan members, according to Yukimi. Even someone outside the clan can temporarily gain smoke abilities by getting a blood transfusion from a young clan member. At first, the Iburi clan struggled to control this power. Some members would accidentally transform into smoke and couldn't return to their human form, leading to their smoke forms dissipating permanently. Orochimaru, being the ever-curious experimenter, stepped in and gave them curse seals to stabilize their transformations. However, the smoke form isn't without weaknesses. It's highly vulnerable to wind attacks. If their smoke form gets scattered, it could mean instant death. The Kurama clan's Kekkei Genkai. The Kurama clan is a clan exclusive to the anime, but they have one of the wildest Kekkei Genkai, which focuses entirely on genjutsu. Every few generations, someone in the clan is born with crazy natural talent for it, so much so that they don't even need proper training to overwhelm opponents. Their genjutsu is so strong that it can physically harm people. Basically, if the victim believes something is happening to them in the illusion, their body reacts as if it's actually happening. For example, if they think they're being stabbed, their body actually takes damage as though it happened. It's powerful enough to kill someone purely with illusions. Of course, this kind of insane ability comes with a catch. Most users can control their power, which leads to their subconscious taking over. This usually creates a second, more dangerous personality that has full access to the genjutsu. Once their personality takes control, the user becomes a threat to everyone around them, a literal walking nightmare. While their abilities are terrifying and unique, the cost of losing themselves to their own power makes it as much of a curse as it is a gift. Mud Release is a rare Kekkei Genkai that only shows up in the novel Akatsuki Hiden. It's created by combining water and earth, the same elements used for Wood Release, but way less flashy. Mud Release is so obscure that even Hidan didn't know it existed. Aside from the usual persecution Kekkei Genkai users face, Mud Release users deal with an extra layer of stigma. People think their power is gross, because their hands are always covered in mud. The only known user of this release was a guy named Ameyuki. Before he died, he left behind a ton of mud in the Valley of Lies. Over time, that mud hardened into a clay perfect for making Hanasaki ceramics. So while Mud Release might not be flashy or famous, it ended up being pretty useful in its own way. Ryuzetsu's Kekkei Genkai. This unnamed movie-only Kekkei Genkai is pretty mysterious, but it's what lets Ryuzetsu use the Dragon Life reincarnation technique. It only appears in Naruto the movie, Blood Prison, and Ryuzetsu is the only person who has ever used it. Beyond that, we don't know much, like whether it's a rare ability or if it comes with other cool techniques. It's basically one of those blink and you miss it powers that never gets fully explained. Steel Release is a Kekkei Genkai that combines nature transformations, though the exact elements behind it are still a mystery. It appears in both a novel and a movie, showing off some impressive abilities. In Gaara Hiden, Metaro Konjiki from Ishigakure uses Steel Release to create weapons made of solid steel. Meanwhile, in Naruto Shippuden the movie, The Will of Fire, Hiruko takes things to the next level by stealing this ability with his Chimera technique. He uses it to turn his entire body into steel, making himself practically indestructible. Swift Release is a movie and game exclusive Kekkei Genkai centered around extreme speed. Users move so fast they turn into a blur, making taijutsu almost useless unless the opponent can master speed. Hiruko takes advantage of this release, which he acquired through his Chimera technique. It grants him incredible agility and evasiveness, though it's not as instantaneous as space-time ninjutsu. The exact limits of its speed are unknown. In Naruto Mobile, Swift Release is suggested to combine wind and lightning chakra natures, though this is not confirmed in the movie. Yanaru's Kekkei Genkai. In the novel Naruto Retsuden, Naruto Uzumaki and the Spiral Destiny, Yanaru has a pretty unique Kekkei Genkai. Unlike most shinobi, he can share information mentally with his shadow clones, in real time, just like how clones can pass intel back to the main body when they're dispelled. Yanaru uses this ability like a pro. He infiltrates his target's inner circle, gathering all the intel he needs while posing as one of their trusted allies. Then he relays the information to his clones, coordinating them perfectly to pull off assassinations. So now the only Kekkei Genkai that are left are all the dojutsu of the series, which is all covered in the video you see on your screen right now, so we'll see you there.